Welcome, friends. Thank you for having an interest in spiritual things and joining with us as we study questions that Jesus asked. And the question that we're going to look at today is, why are you anxious concerning raiment? The book of Matthew has many wonderful lessons within it, but there is one section in which is called by many the Magna Carta of Christianity. It is chapters 5, 6, and 7. These three chapters are a summation of the sermon that Jesus preached, which is called the Sermon on the Mount. In chapter 6, Jesus deals with things that have to do with his life and the anxieties and the cares that individuals have about things in this life. 6 times the word anxiety is used by Jesus in his discourse against instructions about anxiety means worry or anxiousness. And twice of these 6 times, it is asked as a question, why are you anxious? 4 times, it is made a statement, be not anxious. As we look in this chapter, Jesus first had spoken to these disciples about the midway of it. As he is speaking to disciples, he teaches them, laying up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither the moth nor the rust doth consume, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where a man's treasure is, there will his heart be also. Then the Lord said, the lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is single, your body will be full of light. If it is evil, your body will be filled with darkness. Thus Jesus speaks and teaches me that my treasures are to be laid up for heaven. I'm sure not prepared to live all my life on this earth, for I will not. The years of our days are 70, or if by reason of strength they be 80, they're soon cut off and we fly away. 80 years on this earth by reason of strength. And yet, even that is a short period of time. But the Bible teaches that there is life that's eternal, and we should lay up our treasures for that realm in which life is eternal, and not lay up treasures upon this earth as though we will live upon this earth forever. As we look at Jesus talking about the lamp of the body is the eye, that is, the things that we long for, the things that we lust for. If our eye is single, if it sees clearly and sees what's more important, spiritual things or material things, well, the body's full of light. But if it's evil, if it looks only upon things that have to do with this earth, well, then your body is full of darkness. As we look, we find that Jesus speaks and says in verse 25, therefore I say unto you, be not anxious for your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, or what you shall put on. Is not the life more than the food, and the body the raiment? Jesus asked a question here. Is not your body and your life more than what you eat? Is not your body more than what you put on? He teaches us that we're not to be anxious. Now, he's not telling us that we're never to give thought about providing for those that are our own and ourselves. To the contrary, the Scriptures teach that we are to provide. If man doesn't take care of his own, especially those of his own household, well, he's denied faith. He's worse than an infidel. But our whole life should not be consumed with the matter of worrying about what we're going to eat, or what we're going to drink, or what we're going to put on, because, after all, the life itself is more than the food, and the body is more than the raiment. Jesus calls to mind an illustration that he will serve again in the 10th chapter of Matthew. He will talk about the birds. And he says, think about the birds. They don't sow, and they don't reap, and yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are not you of more value than they? Why, certainly we're more value than they. And yet, we find, as far as the bird is concerned, he doesn't sow and he doesn't reap, he doesn't gather into barns, but God teaches and takes care of him. Now, God's not telling me I'm not to make provisions and lay up for perhaps a rainy day. But he is teaching me that my life must not be consumed with that. There's more than just eating. There's more than just the things that we put on. And then he makes another illustration as far as the birds are concerned. He said in the 10th chapter of Matthew that are not two sparrows sold for a penny, and not one falls to the earth without your Father. And so his next question is, are ye not of much more value than that? Now, what was the master's point of that? His point was that two sparrows are sold for a penny. That wasn't much of anything. Their lives were worthless and practically. And yet, there wasn't a single bird that falls to the earth, but that God knows that bird, that his life has ended, and that his sojourn on this earth is gone. Now, if God knows that about the lowly sparrow, do you think he doesn't know about what I need, what you need? Surely he does. But then we find that he makes another illustration. He says, and which of you, being anxious, can add 1 cubit under the measure of his life? This statement, the measure of his life, is a bit uncertain as far as the actual translation of the original text is concerned. The translators were not quite certain whether it was the measure of one's life or whether it was the measure of one's height. But it really doesn't make any difference, my friends, because the truth of the matter is anxiety is not going to change either one. I can be very anxious about seeking to extend my life. I'm not going to lengthen it. Now, I may shorten it by undue concern about things that have to do with this life, but I'm not going to lengthen it. And no matter how high I'd like to be, when I reach the point of my mature height, that's as far as I'm going to go. I can, by artificial means of wearing boots and high heels, I can make myself appear so, but I'm still what I am. And anxiety is not going to change how tall I am, and anxiety is not going to change the matters of how long I live. And then he asked a question, and why are you anxious concerning raiment? What do you worry about that? He said, consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God doth so clothe the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is cast into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? What a wonderful illustration. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They don't toil, they don't spin. And yet, even Solomon in all his glory could not begin to be compared with these. And then God makes this point. But if God does so clothe with the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast in the oven, that is, it's burnt up, will he not much more clothe you? Ye have little faith. Don't you know that he knows about you? If he knows that the sparrow, when it falls to the earth, if he knows that that sparrow has died, you think he doesn't know about man, whom he created in his own image? And so, as he continues and then concludes, he has this to say in verse 31. Be not therefore anxious, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. But seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to the wonderful promise from God. Seek first his kingdom. Seek his righteousness. Seek to be that is just in God's sight by that which he bestows through the sacrifice of Christ. And I attain by submitting to his will to obtain it. And if I seek first his kingdom, I'll seek his righteousness with all these things. I may not never be a millionaire, but I'll have enough. God will see to that. David said a long time ago, I once was young, but now I'm old. Yet have I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor seed bake bread. Neither will I, and neither will you. God's people have this sweet assurance from God. I will take care of you. I'm nearly I'm nearly 95 years old, closer to 94. But there's one thing I've seen in this world, many things I've seen that are astonishing and that are marvelous. But there is one thing that I have never seen, nor will you. I have never seen God forsake the righteous. I've never seen those that are the descendants of the righteous be reduced to poverty that they have to bake bread. And I think that you will not see it either. So God says, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Why? Because those are the eternal things. And the treasures of heaven are worth far more than all the treasures this earth can bring. Jesus asked a question in the book of Matthew, the 16th chapter. It's worthwhile and worth our consideration. What shall a man be profited, said he, if he gains the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? Thank you, friend, for joining us this day as we have examined Jesus' question, why are you anxious concerning raiment? May God bless you, and may he be with you this day and through the course of your life.